Are you ready to eliminate your credit card processing fees? Visit www.pairpayments.com and use code JAKE for a $250 Visa gift card when you join today.
Hey, what's up, everybody out there? Welcome to Under Pressure Podcast, where we are going to be discussing business and all things under pressure. Today, I have with me Nicholas Stainsby. Nicholas is the owner and founder of Wipe Clean Window Cleaning, and they're out of Calgary, Canada. Man, that's ways away from me in Texas. So welcome, Nick.
Hey, happy to be here.
Yeah, so glad you could be here today. So Nick and I met at the IWCA in Las Vegas at the convention. When was that? Was that late January?
Yeah, late January.
Late January. Nick and I met there, and he came to a couple speeches from Bergflow, and we got to hang out and do like a cool pub crawl and all kinds of crazy stuff while we were there. And it was a really awesome time. And Nick just got back from one of the trainings we also put on, and that was here in Texas in Denton. So it was really exciting having Nick come down and join us at Bergflow for the Pivot Point training. And Nick has been like a world traveler as of late. Like, he comes all the way to Texas and comes to that training and goes back, and then he was at Vegas. So what was going on in Vegas, man?
Yeah, so the latest time in Vegas I was just there was for a Christmas light conference, Clipacon. And yeah, it was a little smaller than the IWCA, but it was great. It was actually on the new strip. So when we were at the IWCA, it was on the old strip. So I got to both of them. Too many days so this year for sure. So I think I'm all Vegas out now. But hoping to do a few more little events and conferences this year, because it's nice to be able to get back moving around and seeing some faces and stuff. We've all been cooped up for too long. So especially up here in Canada, it's a little harder. So yeah,
that's what I noticed. And we talked about that, like when the IWCA conference, it was like every other person I spoke with seemed like they were from Canada, which was really cool. It was and we had a great time. It was like I was surrounded by a bunch of really awesome Canadians, and that was a lot of fun. So
absolutely, yeah, sure.
All right, Nick. So we're going to get into you. We're going to talk about you, and we're also going to talk about, because we just mentioned like you're doing this traveling and you're taking these trainings. So here in a little bit, we're going to discuss some of that, because that is fascinating, and all of these other business owners need to know that. So let's get into you though, man. So where did you grow up?
Yeah, so born and raised in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Yeah, just, grew up skateboarding and window cleaning. I'm a fourth generation window cleaner. So I started cleaning windows when I was like 12, 13 years old. Yeah, really just haven't really moved from Canada or Calgary, just been here ever since. Started my own company 12 years ago. So it's been great, honestly. Love Calgary. I don't know if I'll ever leave. Like, I like to travel, but coming home is always so good. So it's always so nice being back.
That's awesome. Awesome. Home is where the heart is, what they say. And sounds like you got a great business there. So that's fantastic. No reason to leave other than to visit, but we enjoyed you visiting. So tell me about educational background. What kind of background do you have on that?
Yeah, so I don't think I did too well in school. I definitely didn't do too well in school. I was always late, and did some continuing education, did about half a semester of that. And then after that, I started working for one of my family members for window cleaning again. I worked for him on and off for years. And after working with him and seeing the opportunities in his business, I just kind of wanted to start my own right away. So I was 19 when I started my business, but didn't really have too much of an educational background, really. I did come from a family of entrepreneurs, though. So, yeah, like I said, my great grandpa was a window cleaner, and So I'm fourth generation, and his all of his kids did window cleaning as well. So I've got cousins in England that still do windows, and then my mom's side, uh, her family was like into fabric and selling fabric. They had like a street called Sapero Street, and every single store was one of my family members, and they all sold the same thing. So they were all competing against each other. So as I was growing up, I was seeing all these people run businesses, and I was like, okay, you know, I could run a business. I don't really want to go to school, so that's yeah. Don't have much of an educational background.
Well, that's cool though. So let me get this straight, just so everyone's clear on that. Nick here, who is a successful business owner, doesn't have an educational background really. So you guys need to understand, like, and this is important for them, Nick, because we're going to talk about training and stuff like that here in a little bit. But so many times people just believe like you've got to go to college and you're going to have to go and do all these things, spend all this money on some kind of big fancy education in order to go out and start your business. But that's not the case. And granted, you grew up around some entrepreneurs, so you learned some of that, but that stuff can be learned in other atmospheres, and that can be learned on the job. So I think it's fantastic that you took that knowledge from these generations that you grew up in and grew up around and made that decision to go and be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure. I always joke around and say like, from watching them, I kind of like learned what not to do.
Yeah.
Well, you know, now like business, I'm really trying to be the best that I can for sure.
That's awesome. I could see that, man, because you're like all about trying to learn and soak in this knowledge. So that's good. So let's take a step. I mean, I know like, so you grew up around all these entrepreneurs, but really like you probably could have just taken that skill and stuff and you could have moved into a business and kind of been a part of their, say, leadership team or working for someone else and making good money, but not having to put up with the headache of operating a business. So why be an entrepreneur? Why do that?
Well, I guess the main reason, like when I was younger, I used to always like going door to door and like cleaning up leaves or like asking people if I could do their snow. So I kind of had that like spirit of like just go out and get it. But the main reason was when I was working for my family member there. Um, I guess it was doubt. They like I was working for them and I was like, hey, we should do these changes. We should do this. We should do that. And they're like, no, 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 get back out in the field. Like, get back to work. And I'm like, after a few times, I was like, you know what? We got into a little bit of an argument, and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna go out and start my own. And they were like, well, started listing off all the other guys that I knew that worked there because I worked there for a long time. Like I started probably working on and off when I was 12, 13, and then up to when I was 19. So I knew the guys coming in and out. And when I was actually really young, I was working in the office, like probably 10. So I'm pretty good with numbers. So I was like doing the data entry and stuff. But anyway, so he's just naming off the guys who worked for him who didn't make it. Like they started their company, they ended up failing and coming back. They started their company, they failed and came back. He's like, you won't be able to do it. And I was like, well, I took off my shirt and I threw it out. I was like, well, watch me. And I had like a couple grand in the bank account, not anything crazy. And yeah, I walked home shirtless that day. I didn't have a car. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'm going to do this. And then my mom, she actually, for my 20th birthday, because I was just turning 20, she got me incorporated. So I got incorporated. And then, yeah, my next problem was like, I need to find a vehicle. I need to start, like, I need to get to making some money here and figure this thing out. So, yeah, we actually started the first few jobs we did. We posted on something called Kijiji. I don't know if you guys have that down there, but it's just like a Craigslist. We got one job, and the guy actually had no arms, and he was selling his house. So we cleaned all of his windows, and then the neighbor came over, and she's like, "Oh, can you clean my windows?" And so we did her house. The lady walking her dog came by, and we're like talking to her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I just live down there. Yeah, come clean my windows too." So we went to clean her windows. And it was me and my friend, and we kind of were gonna start cleaning or like a business together. And yeah, we both didn't have a car, so his dad was just driving us and dropping us at jobs. But on this day, it was like 2 o'clock, and he was like, "Oh, I'm done. I can't work anymore." And I was like, "Come on, we got to keep going. We got to get more jobs to see how much we can do on our first day." And he was like out of it. He didn't want to go around anymore. So that kind of fell off pretty quick because then it became winter and I had to get a job because I didn't want to do snow removal. I had too many nightmares of like when I was a kid getting pulled out of school to do snow for like 18 hours. I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. So and then the next year I was like, oh, I'm not working with that guy, and started up by myself.
Yeah. Nice. Started simple. Hey, that's, and there's a lot of the guys that I talk to on a regular basis. That's kind of their story. I mean, just starting out very basic. Most guys out there, as we always kind of called it, like, or I hear it referenced trucking a truck. It's Nick and a Saab or whatever you were driving at the time, but that's the reality, right? Sometimes you just got to have like very simple equipment. You start out simple and you've got to go out there and just hustle. And it sounds like that's exactly what you were doing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I actually stole my equipment from my uncle. I was like, I'm taking this. I don't even care. Just like took it with me. So I had that, which I mean, that's all you really need. Most customers would like have ladders and stuff. So
just use their stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. Hey, that you got to do what you got to do to get it done. And, as long as you're doing a good job, I think that's what matters, and that's that customer satisfaction. So, so you're doing a lot of those jobs yourself. So you can kind of give me the rundown here and everyone else. So obviously things have changed a little bit for you, Nick. So you're no longer getting rides to jobs and using people's equipment clearly. So tell us, how's this structure changed from then until now?
Yeah, it's like unrecognizable. Absolutely. Like thinking back, like as I was thinking about this podcast, just talking about going back that far, it's crazy to think how far we've come. And, from system standpoint, having nothing to what we have right now is just, it's night and day difference. So at the beginning, I really had nothing. I didn't know much at all. And it took me a while to realize that I didn't really know that much. But then once I became hungry for growth and for learning and all that stuff, that's when my business really started to grow. And I started getting passionate about developing other people, showing other people that they can do, they can do it. They can grow and make some decent money cleaning windows.
Heck yeah. People are doing it every day. I'm seeing these companies out here that it's amazing, with stories like yours and you're in one spot and you were in a spot where you've gotten hardly any equipment and all this. Now you're in a much different spot, much better place. You're making good money. And there's companies out there that are, I mean, I don't know. I would have never considered or even thought about it because most people don't when they look around and they see a business, but they're doing millions and millions and millions of dollars in revenue cleaning windows. And obviously it's not just cleaning windows, that. There's a lot of ancillary services and stuff like that. But what are some of your goals, and are goals important?
Yeah, absolutely. Goals are huge. I think, one of my first goals was to hire somebody and actually getting my first hire. My first hire was actually my old supervisor. So I was working for this lady at a car dealership cleaning cars. And then I was telling her how I was starting this business because this was like my first winter when I started the company. I'd barely even done anything yet, but so actually hiring somebody and training them and, realizing that you need to have some systems in place to get these people trained up. Like that was have somebody working for me, but then really made me think on like, how am I going to hire a bunch of people and do all this? So then my next goal was pretty much like building a bunch of systems. And I guess one of my goals too, I used to work with my brother and getting him out of the business, because having the right people in the business is all that matters. Like this year, we have a really awesome team, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But before, looking back to when I didn't have that good team, I was working like 7 days a week. People were missing shifts. So I guess, the goal of like structured lifestyle and being able to go out and do other events. And, these days I don't clean many windows. So everything really changed. Like my goals have definitely changed. And that's actually one thing I'm trying to define right now is like, what does the future look like? Because I've kind of got to a point where I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Now what are the next goals? And we really want to start some more locations and impact more people. So those are the next goals are, impacting more and lifting people up.
Awesome. That's fantastic, man. And I know like you're striving that, and I can kind of see that the way you've been seeking out this knowledge and stuff. And as you know, here at Berkflow, we talk a lot about structure, and we talk a lot about your systems, but more than that, we talk about people. And you said it, man, like having the right people in the right places with the right motivation. It's something we always say, and it's true. And you've seen that, and you just basically said it. Like when you don't have those people in place, and there's someone else there, and they're trying to pull people down, and they're not wanting to do the work or whatever it is, it can really hold you back from making progress.
Absolutely, yeah. And I guess a plug to Birdflow is I seen them at IWCA, or not IWCA, the huge convention last year, and I seen the SOG model, and it kind of blew my mind, and I've actually implemented that this year. So it's really helped us, have each person in their own lane. Because before I figured like everybody was just crisscrossing, and so now we're trying to keep everybody. It's like, hey, you do this, I do this, I do this. Like if you need help, I'm going to help you, but
Yeah.
if you don't ask for help, then I'm not going to help you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it helps. Great.
A lot of clarity came from that. So yeah, thanks you guys.
So cool, man. Well, thank you for the shout out on that. And we're just happy that people are learning some stuff from this and taking it and applying it, and it's working in their businesses. So let's talk about this concept of training and learning. So let's start with like this learning aspect. Tell us why you're so obsessed with learning. You go into a huge convention, an IWCA, you came to one of our trainings just here recently, and then almost immediately turned around and went to another one. What's the point of all this?
Yeah, for sure. So one thing I kind of realized is that like if you're not talking to other people, you're talking to yourself, and sometimes you can get inside your own head, and you need to get these new ideas and outside perspectives just to make you, to push you to grow, because growth is uncomfortable. And I learned for sure that like when I'm just like thinking to myself and having the same thoughts every day, that's not going to make me change. What is going to make me change is, listening to other ideas. And I used to just be a huge advocate for like hanging out with my friends, like my day one friends, like these are my homies. Like, I don't want to leave these guys. And I learned after a while, it's like, we were at a friend's house one night, and everybody's kind of just like partying, and I was just in the corner, and I was like, man, I've heard this story like 80 times. Like I've been around this for way too long. So I was like, I need to start being around different ideas. So that's when I started getting into audiobooks and learning and reading. And I went to my first conference. And after I went to my first conference in 2017, I was like, oh my God, I know what to do. I just got to get to work. So like had so many ideas, and then I just started implementing it. Actually, at the last conference I was at, before I would be like writing notes down. Now I'm just like sending emails to my team. Hey, you need to start doing this. You need to do that on this. So it's like, we're starting to really roll, because it's not just like writing the ideas now. It's like implementing right away, because you can forget something so fast. So yeah, having all these different perspectives really helped me change the way I look at things. And it's a work in progress. Like, it doesn't happen overnight, but you just keep on learning, keep on staying hungry. And yeah, that's really helped out.
That's cool. Well, and that's it's just true in all kind of aspects of life. We're talking about business, and we're talking about your window cleaning business, but in all aspects of life, the moment, there's that saying, well, the moment you stop learning, you stop growing, right? Like, and we don't know what we don't know until we go find out, right? So that's the thing that we all should be doing in some way, shape, or form. Whether you said like it's a podcast like this, or it's an ebook, it's just your old fashioned paperback, or a conference, and then surrounding yourself. You said something interesting. There's nothing wrong with your friends, right? Like your friends you had, they were good friends to you.
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
So hanging out with them, that's great stuff. But there does come a time where I think we all have to kind of surround ourselves with the kind of group that is going to take our conversations to a different level, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that's a big thing that we went over at Pivot Point was like the vision, our vision personally, and our business vision. I realized that like, I'm casting my vision to my friends who really don't see it, and they're just like working their job 9 to 5, or some of them might work for themselves, but they're not like trying to grow a bigger business. Where so I'm casting my vision to people that just don't see it, and it's just kind of like I'm not, I don't want to say I'm wasting my energy, but if I've cast my vision to other people who really want to lift me up and be like, hey, this is what I've done, these are some pointers I give you, instead of being like, oh, when it comes to our friends, they're like, oh yeah, you think you can do that? I don't know. Like they might be doubting you, or just they kind of check out too. Sometimes they're like, just start staring off into space. Like you lost me at like whatever. So I realized that I got to channel my energy and cast my vision where it's actually going to be, where it's going to be seen. Because if people aren't on the same uh, wavelength of you, it's just going to be hard and a little stressful to try to like communicate with them and show them what you want to do. So yeah.
Yeah. That's man, that couldn't be more true. It really does make a difference, and you're still around those people, and you're still going to love on those people, but
Oh
we
yeah.
have to surround ourselves with those group of people in whatever capacity that is, and they're going to kind of pull us up, and like you say, you're casting out these visions and all this. So hey man, that's exciting. And for when you start hearing that feedback, and people are encouraging that, then that's what's going to make you pumped and makes you want to go to that next level, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So you're all into this learning, which is fantastic. Uh, and you're taking those steps to learn. And then obviously, probably your team is over there and they're like, dude, Nick, stop going to these conferences. You're killing us.
Yeah.
What do they think about that?
Oh, they're super supportive. Like the last one I was at, I bring my operations manager with me. Yeah. And, the teams, they're super supportive of it. Like I do a debriefing with them and let them know everything. Typically I'm talking to them every day. I got some ideas, or they just want to call me up and say, how's it going? What are you learning? Like, we're so excited. We're all in it together. And I really want to start bringing my team with me. I know one thing that we were talking about was like, if your business wants to be growing at 60%, your leaders need to be growing at 60%. So I really believe that too. Like, you got to keep them inspired as well too, because getting these outside perspectives and just being around other people where you can talk freely, it really helps push the needle and create some community too. Because you meet people that turn out to be really good friends. Like some of the guys I met at the first conference, I still talk to all the time, and people that I've met recently, they're like, hey, you should come to this one with me. Like, I want to see you again. Or you see the same person at the next one and you just catch up and talk about things that are going on. So it's been great. Like, I just can't wait to take more of my team with me to these things as we just continue to grow this thing. So
That's cool, man. That's cool. And that should be inspiring to all you listeners out there. If you're trying to grow your company, he said it like right there, you have got to pour into your leadership teams. And that's what Nick's talking about is he's pouring into his leadership. And that's kind of where I want to move this conversation to. So training, uh, I know after being around you a couple times here, and we've had a lot of different conversations, you're really into teaching and training. So tell us a little bit of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so training is definitely a huge thing. I can't remember where I heard this, but someone was talking about how their team members, they would hire them and within 2 weeks they'd be working by themselves, whether it's in the
Wow.
office or in the field. And I don't like I think there's realisticness behind that. Like, they might be easy job by themselves, nothing too crazy, but just definitely being watched. So I heard that and I was like, how can I do that? And that's when I started building a training program. I was like, all right, well, we're going to section it off into like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And at first I used to just train people like level 1 and then go into the field and see if they kind of sucked or not. And I realized after a while, I'm like, hey, that's not the best idea. So now we got a commercial space last year, we got a decent amount of room. So we bring the guys in and we train them for a week. We do level 1, 2, 3, 4. We get them on the squeegee. We get them to clean a window like 100 times.
Nice.
See how patient they are. There's some people that will clean it like 5 times and say they got it down, and then you go over there and they can't do it, and then it's you learn real quickly. So I learned from my training program. It's honest, like, vets the guys too. So like if I have the wrong guy, he's not going to complete the training program because it's pretty extensive. So, and anybody that we get in the office, we get them to do the technical side first, and then they come into the office after. So anybody who's selling on the phone is going to know exactly what's happening in the fields, because we didn't want the people on the phone to be like not aware of what's going on out there. So training's been huge. I don't even know how much time I've spent on this training program, but right now this year, and it's a good testament to it, is we hired one guy, I think it was 3 weeks, and he was by himself running, and he actually just finished today. And he's been doing really awesome. We hired another guy he was just strictly office, but he was like running on his own in a couple of weeks as well too. So we've got a few more people coming in, and this year, like, we've really figured out how to train people a lot better, and it makes the experience a lot better when you come in and you know everything about the business before you even step out in the field. Like, the customer feels great, and then you feel great because you feel like you've been trained. And I've definitely done it where I haven't trained the guys, and they're like at a customer's house saying all these wrong things, and I'm just like coming down damage control. It's like, all right, well, you can't be saying that, and like, you don't really want to be learning on the job. Like, I mean, there's times when you have to, but yeah. So training as much as possible. And all these events I go to, like, I have a little form on my phone that I just fill out, and it goes into a spreadsheet. And anytime I have new training ideas, I just put them into there. And like every quarter, we like add more to the training, add more. So it's been really good, and I like it, and I want to keep training. And that's something I hope I can do one day, is, help other people start businesses as well. It's inspiring to be able to start your own thing and break through ceilings that you didn't realize you could break through, and live a life you didn't realize was possible. So
Yes. And that's why I do what I do, for that exact reason, because I love watching and hearing your story, and like all these guys who are just blowing up, and they're having those same realizations that you are, and seeing that it's inspirational to me, and I like to be around inspiring people. So yeah, we're going to keep this up, and we're going to have you on again. So we're talking about learning. We talked about growing, talking about teaching. you're all about teaching. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, and there's so many of these guys out here who are probably rushing through it. And I know you said something like out of necessity. Sometimes it feels like a necessity to get it out, but there could be a lot lost because of their if they're not training right. And you've probably seen some of that. If you're doing damage, now you got to go do damage control.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I've seen a lot of that. Can't hands and toes how much I've seen of that. So definitely forged in fire. Like you've seen what not to do, and it's like if you don't train them right, you know what's gonna happen. There's a quote out there. It's like, what happens if you train them and they leave? Well, what happens if you don't train them and they stay? So it's like, and I was that kind of like blew up in my mind, and I was like, I got all these guys. I'm afraid of investing in their training, but there's all these problems we're having, and if they were trained properly, we probably wouldn't be having these problems. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Taking the time, doing it right, just like it, and it's just like a job. You take your time, you do it correctly. It doesn't mean you don't do it efficiently and get it done properly. But just like that, training these guys, you do it efficiently, you do it properly, you send them out, and now they're a great investment for you and for themselves because they feel confident in what they're doing. Which that's the way to do it, Nick. You've got it.
And yeah, one thing I'll add too is like with starting the training program, just start with like something like every day when I hear an issue or an opportunity come up, I'm like, okay, is that in the training program or not? Like, and I just try to implement it as fast as possible because like version 1 is better than version none. Like you just got to start with something and then build on it because it will just start to overflow. But just get those ideas and harness them together and put them in one place. That's one of my biggest issues is that I had so many ideas all over the place. And now I use a project management software called ClickUp, and that has like really helped me focus in and keep everything in one spot. So it's been great. Yeah.
Using those tools. It's fantastic. So we're kind of at this part in the show where I like to do this one thing. So if you'll give like one big thing, one essential kind of must or something that you believe someone starting out or early in the process or really just struggling with taking their business to the next level from an early stage, what should they do? What's something they should do early on that is kind of a must?
I would say get somebody working for you right away. Start building your leadership skills because if you want to really grow a business, and that's a choice you got to make. Is like, do you want to be self-employed or do you want to grow a team of people? I guess that's the first decision you really need to make. Is if you do want to start that path of leadership, then you need to start learning on how to guide people. And so I would say the first thing is finding people, learning how to find the right person, and focusing also on your vision. Figure out what you want to do. And when you figure out what you want to do, find people that want to do what you want to do. Because I learned the hard way working with my brother. Like, I wanted to do this, he wanted to do that. For 7 years working together, and it was just like constantly like, pulling two sides of a rope. Like if we were rowing together, we would definitely start moving, but we were just spinning in circles. So it was a bit of a nightmare. So I would say, like make those hires, but make sure you're getting the right people. Maybe don't work with family unless you know you're going to work well with them. Make sure that people that have the same vision as you, because if they don't, it's just not going to work out. And I know it takes a while. Like when I first heard vision, mission, and values and stuff, I was like, what does this even mean? I have no idea. Like, and then eventually I was like, oh, that's what that is. And then I was like, oh, that's what culture is like. We got good culture now. That's what good culture feels like. So just start building that culture. Start with one person, build them up, get them to do the work for you, get them working on their own, and then find other great people to work with. And don't be afraid to hire, because hiring is like the best part. Having a good team is like liberating. So
it's awesome. Good advice. I love it. Now let's take and avoid something they should avoid at all costs if possible.
Something they should avoid. Shiny objects. I think like once you start making some money, being really selective on what you spend it on, because I got so many tools and pieces of equipment that I have here that I should probably just sell because I never used them, but just spent money on silly investments of like things I saw online. I'm like, oh, we need this. This is going to be great. Like a gutter vac. Like we bought that thing. I've used it like, I don't even know, 6 times, and I've had it for like 8 years. But a lot of things at the beginning is like, if I took that money and like just invested it in people and got people going door to door and handing out flyers, that would have kept my business just growing. And I was just like, oh, I need this next tool. This is going to make it so much better. But I really, I would say don't fall for the shiny objects. Focus on people. Don't buy the equipment, because the good people don't even really need that good of equipment. So
yeah, no, that's excellent advice too. And it's not the first time I've heard that on this show. There's a lot of you guys know, and you've been there kind of long enough. And so that's great information, especially when so many guys have said it consistently, that these new guys out there building guys don't go for the shiny objects. I've said it on here before. If you come and clean my windows, I don't care what kind of truck you're driving. I don't care what kind of equipment you've got. If you do a fantastic job, I want you back. If you do a junky job and you're driving the fanciest stuff with the fanciest equipment, I'm not having you back at my house. So I think everyone would feel that way. And that's a great lesson to tell everybody on that. All right, man. Nick, tell us, you have anything else, any final thoughts for our listeners out there on business, on life, on learning and training and growing your business?
I would say just get really passionate about leadership and building other people up. Start reading some books. Like everybody says, the E-Myth. The E-Myth is like blows your mind. Then you read Traction, and that's another one that just gets a little bit deeper. And there's just so many other good books. I recently just read Who Not How, and like talks about the who's, the people around you. That's kind of what inspired me to get around different who's. So, get around some new who's, get to know some other people, get some outside perspectives, and, reach out to John.
Yeah.
Work with, give me a shout. Just talk to people who have done it. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Be curious and ask lots of questions. So that's all I would say. Yeah.
Awesome. Great words from Nick. Nick, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Sounds like earlier you were telling me the snow is melting in Canada where you're at in Calgary. So that's a good thing. Business is about to start booming. Stuff's going to start budding and flowering, and everybody's going to need some stuff cleaned, which should be really. Can't wait. And I think from what I understand, a lot of our listeners are probably going through the same thing. It's that time of year, and that's fantastic. So once again, thank you so much, Nick. For all you listeners out there, go back, check out some of the other podcasts. Make sure you listen to this, share it. If you have questions out there, everyone, just shoot us some questions, and make sure any of you people over there in Calgary, if you hear this, you listen to this, call Nick and Wipe Clean Window Cleaning. Make sure you get their service, because those dudes are doing some outstanding work over there. It's true. So thank you so much for listening to us today on the Under Pressure podcast, where we're talking about all things business under pressure. Have a good day.
Thanks for having me. See ya.